Donald Trump is so desperate to prevent the start of his very first criminal trial in Manhattan taking place on March 25th that he is begging the judge to please, for the love of God, delay this trial until after the Supreme Court rules on my immunity, which, as we all know, the Supreme Court is not even scheduled to hear arguments on Donald Trump's immunity case until April 25th, a full month after the New York trial is set to commence. And then, after they hear the arguments on April 25th, there is literally no telling how long it will take before they hand down a decision. It could be a week or two, it could be a month, it could be 3 months if they choose to slow walk it. So basically what Trump's lawyers are asking Judge Juan Merchan is just go ahead and delay this thing until we give you the go-ahead to proceed with trial. And Judge Merchan is having none of it. In fact, Judge Merchan actually told Donald Trump's lawyers when they submitted this idiotic filing, thanks for sending this in, but I need to remind you that the deadline for making filings was February 22nd. So you're about 2.5 weeks too late to literally submit any filings at all. Like, that time period is over. However, Judge Merchan is being fair, so he gave Alvin Bragg's office until today to go ahead and submit their response to Donald Trump's little idiotic request, and then the judge will have a hearing, I believe, tomorrow, where he'll make his determination on whether or not he's just going to indefinitely postpone Donald Trump's very first criminal trial. Now, this whole thing, like, we need to postpone this trial. We think he's got presidential immunity and therefore you can't really try him for this because, you know, what he did while he was president with the falsification of the business documents that you've charged him with. So here's what's funny about this. Their own filing doesn't necessarily say that, hey, my client is innocent. Throw this case out. They're like, hey, the things that you allege that he actually did. That's a bad admission. You don't ever want to say that. But he did it while he was president, so you can't prosecute him. So they're in their own filing. They're kind of admitting like, okay, all right, judge, he did it, but he did it while he was president, so he's immune. Even if the Supreme Court were to say that Donald Trump is immune from prosecution, specifically in the January 6th case, that would not necessarily apply to this criminal prosecution, because the argument in the January 6th case is that he is immune because his speech at the Stop the Steal rally and his efforts, of course, to overturn the election results were done as a president, not as a candidate. You can't make that argument for him falsifying business records, because falsifying business records are not an official act of the President of the United States. He did that as the CEO of the Trump Organization, not as President Donald J. Trump. So there is no universe in which immunity would exist for that. But I gotta say, I do appreciate the fact that y'all are basically now just telling the judge, yeah, he did it, but he was allowed to do it and you can't prosecute him for it. I'm willing to bet that's going to be an admission that's going to come back to bite you once this trial actually begins.